Hello, welcome to the Nutritional Diet Podcast. My name is Emmy Schultz. I'm a sophomore at Slippery Rock University. My major is physical activity and fitness management.
And my name is Ethan Lamana, and I'm a senior exercise science major. We're recording in the Student Center at Slippery Rock University on October 10th at 4 p.m. And as Emmy said, we're going to be discussing nutritional diets today and how they apply to you. But first, we're going to talk about some of the constituent parts of a diet.
All diets consist of three macronutrients: fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Proteins are responsible for you gaining and replacing muscle. Fats are responsible for keeping the body insulated, secreting metabolic byproducts, and being the main substance for resting activities. Carbohydrates are responsible for being the body's main energy source during high-intensity exercise. They also contribute to brain function.
And so along with the macronutrients, there's perhaps the less recognized contributors are the micronutrients in your food. So micronutrients can be categorized as essential or non-essential depending on the body's ability to produce them. So overall, micronutrients carry no caloric value with them, meaning they do not give you energy. However, their main functions are for performing maintenance in the body.
So now, based off a 2,000 calorie diet, your suggested daily intake for protein is between 10 and 35%. Based on that, you would want to eat between 50 and 175 grams of protein per day. It's suggested that 45 to 65% of your daily calories come from carbs, which also includes sugar. On average, sugar intake tends to be much higher than it should be, based off of Americans' diets. For fat intake, it should be no more than 7 to 10% of your daily calorie intake.
And although that we have these standards, a trend has been observed for the United States where people overconsume carbohydrates and fat, while protein consumption remains chronically low. This really comes as no surprise to me, as I've seen charts detailing the lack of physical activity and increase in obesity in these populations being your everyday American. But essentially, it's really easy to overeat carbohydrates and fats, especially today with the advent of fast food. Like things like McDonald's and Burger King and the like. But this overeating, it really gets escalated with the significant decrease in physical activity that we observe in today's society.
Something we also see a lot in today's society is an increase in dieting. Fad diets come and go, and there are a few that are more of a lifestyle than anything else.
So, Emmy, I understand you have some experience with a few of these popular lifestyle diets.
I do actually. I've tried both the paleo and ketogenic diets. I currently follow the keto diet. The keto diet is a low-carb, high-fat diet. Basically, this kicks your body into a metabolic state known as ketosis. Ketosis is when your body's metabolism shifts from carbs to burning fats.
It seems that the keto diet runs off the premise that your body has an abundance of fat. And so your body adapts to starting to utilize fat more than the carbohydrates, even at higher intensity exercise. We've also talked a little bit about the paleo diet and how people sometimes refer to it as the caveman diet. What experience do you have with that?
I personally think that the paleo diet is a great gateway into eating healthy. Basically, you eat what a caveman would. The general idea is to decrease the risk of developing heart disease. You eat a lot of protein and very little dairy products, anything from chicken to fish, in ways that can be similar to keto because you can modify it to form to your lifestyle. I personally followed a lower carb paleo diet and gained my carb intake from the amount of vegetables I was eating. So from there, I ended up switching to keto because it fit my lifestyle better.
Okay, I see. So I agree, though, but I think the paleo diet can be a good gateway to people into the dieting world, if you will. But I think that the paleo diet has largely been criticized lately and labeled a fad diet. So fad diets promise health benefits, but they are generally based on assumptions and false science, or pseudoscience is what we call that. And so I think the assumption tagged to the paleo diet is that cavemen were eating a lot of lean meat, the emphasis being on lean. So you get the high protein from the lean meat, but you also get high amounts of fat. Beef, fish, and generally most meats contain a fair amount of fat in them. If you look at a cow, you can obviously see that they have some lean beef on them, but they have a lot of fat with them as well. But this high level of fat intake does not really bode well with reducing the risk of developing heart disease because of something called a reactive oxygen-nitrogen species, or RONS for short. And the fat, it secretes RONS. And so RONS are responsible for the breakdown of tissue during exercise, but also at rest with high levels of body fat. So to put this into practical terms, If I was eating a lot of meat, of which there is undoubtedly a high concentration of fat, the fat secretes chemicals, namely rons, which are really harmful to the body, but in our case, the heart.
I agree with what you're saying. I believe the reasoning behind the high levels of body fat are due to not properly exercising along with each diet. You can't expect results if you're only doing half the equation. Proper diet and exercise leads to results.
Right, and as we talked before, the average American isn't exercising. They won't see the benefits.
You're right. The average American is exercising less and less, and they have a higher intake of carbs and sugar, so they're not going to see results.
So I think overall, if you incorporate appropriate amounts of aerobic exercise and resistance training with any type of diet, assuming you would adhere to the diet properly, you can find success. But generally, it's really dependent upon what your goal is. So I mean, if you want to gain weight, you obviously want to have more calories in than calories out, and if you want to lose weight, it's just the opposite. When I think really when it all boils down to it, if you can go back to that simple energy expenditure equation, that's where you're going to get results.
Definitely. But with diets does come a lot of discipline. I know I'm not as strict with my keto diet as others, but I still see results. I complement the diet with various intensity exercises. I think I would be seeing little to no results if I didn't exercise.
Yeah, excellent advice. I'd like to thank everyone, though, for listening to our discussion on nutritional diets. You can follow me on Twitter at Ethan Techwell. Emmy, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Schultz_Emmy.
Thanks, everybody.